I'm Jake Bruton, and this week on the Build Show, we're going to talk about the difference in cost plus versus fixed fee and why I choose one over the other. Let's get started. Okay, I think it's important to start this discussion by just general definitions. We can call this one of the, Business 101 series. Sorry if the camera's bumpy. We're leaving I'm leaving the Hilltop Arrow House as well. Cost plus versus fixed fee. Fixed fee, the easiest way to think about fixed fee is I tell you the job is going to cost $100. That job costs $100 unless we have any change orders. Now, those change orders could be driven by the municipality, as in the inspector requires you to do something that wasn't in the original scope of work. They could be driven by the project. You could discover something that you didn't know that was in the wall, say asbestos or lead paint or plumbing pipes that you didn't know were there. And therefore you have to write a change order to the client and change that price of the job. Or the clients could make a change order. So the clients could say, hey, while you're at it, we want you to do this, adds this much to the job. And so that changes the fixed fee. So fixed fee isn't just I tell you it's $100, no matter what happens, it's $100. But for the most part, that's the easiest way to talk to clients about it. If I tell you the job's gonna cost $100, then at the end, your bill is gonna be $100 unless we have a change order. The other way that most people do it is, or that some people do it, is with a cost plus. Cost plus contract means you pay what I have in the budget, or what I have invested in the project, plus my profit and overhead, which means you actually end up paying what the job cost plus my profit and overhead, or plus my markup. So we'll just call my profit and overhead markup from now on in this video. What we do is actually slightly considered to be modified cost plus. That's the way our contract's written as well. So you pay our subs and suppliers and receipts plus our profit and markup, and then you pay our hourly rate. And the reason I do it that way is a couple times I've been in a bidding situation where clients said, well, the other guy has a heck of a lot less money in labor. Why is your labor so much more expensive than his? And I know the other guy. I know that his labor force is not cheaper than mine. He's just doing cost plus across the board. And his cost plus is my labor also gets that profit and overhead on it. So while his profit or his labor looks, $27 or something more or less an hour than mine, so it throws people for a loop. So I've started breaking out our labor into a separate line item and saying, you don't pay any markup on this, and I make it very clear so that people understand. Now, it does put us in a weird spot when I am in a bidding situation, but that's not normally the case anymore. I don't have to bid against other people. We have clients seeking us out, so it's less important. It's just about making the budget work now. So, fixed fee, I tell you it's gonna be $100, it costs $100. Cost plus, the way to think of that is, I'm gonna tell you the job's gonna be $85, and we're gonna be somewhere between $75 and $95. And that's exactly the way that I talk about it with clients. I use those numbers. I use the $100, $75, and $95. And the reason I use that is because I use it to explain that when I made a change from fixed fee, because for the first 10 years of my career, I told you the job was $100, you paid $100, and I made money or lost money based off of what happened during the project. I had to put a 30% bump on that project. So I had to decide what the job was going to cost and then tack on a huge chunk to cover those unknowns, to cover the, oh my gosh, I forgot about that, to cover the, oh shoot, I didn't even think about that there would be a framing member there. Where in reality, we don't know everything. So I can't tell you exactly what it is. I can give you my absolute best guess. I can try to place 25 years worth of knowledge, and having worked on the house next door, or having worked in that neighborhood, or knowing the builder that built your house, and try to understand all that ahead of time. But that's extremely difficult and extremely unlikely that I'm going to get it right. So why don't I just give you a full faith, best best I can do bid that also has a little bit of padding in it so that I have a little bit of wiggle room, and then explain to you that you're going to pay what we have in the project, and we're going to do our best to be as close to that budget as possible, but we're also going to do our best to do exactly the job that we said we were going to do. So in essence, swapping from fixed fee, where I was, the job's going to be $70 and I put my $30 on there extra to make it a $100 bid, and I hopefully came in somewhere between 70 and 90 so that I made money. Now I tell them 85 and expect somewhere between 75 and 95, and they're already prepared to know that, we could be 10% or 11% one way or the other, and I'm trying my best to get them the right number to begin with, but I need them to be okay with that 95. I'm now $5 cheaper on that job. My bid got cheaper, my project got cheaper, because I don't have to have that worrisome effort money in the end. And you better believe that if I were doing fixed fee still, that 30% would still be on there, and I'm not giving that back to the client. I'm absorbing all the risk in this situation. So I'm not giving you, if I come in at 70, I'm not giving you any of it back. It's still going to cost you the 100 that I told you, because we signed a contract for that, and I was the one carrying all the risk. I have had some clients be very uncomfortable with this idea because they're like, well, it's just an open checkbook. Well, it's not just an open checkbook. Every other week, we're having budget review conversations. Every other week, we're talking about our choices. We're good at what we do. I looked probably 6 months ago. I don't think that we've had a job go more than 15% outside the budget in the last 5 years. Now, 15% can be an enormous amount of money if you're talking about $1 million house. But note, I said outside the budget, not over budget, because outside the budget is different. There are variances from municipalities. The one job that I'm talking about, they disallowed our sewer after they allowed it. So we had to put in a $40,000 septic system that wasn't in the original plans. Clients added a third garage bay. Clients added custom cabinets instead of the box store cabinets. Like, there are things like that are variance or change orders that aren't on me, that I don't consider as affecting my budget. They affect the project budget. So I don't think of that as an overage. I think of that as outside of the budget. So very rarely are we more than, and I use that 11% number because we found that 11% number in our review. Very rarely are we outside of that 11%. And most of the time we are at that budget number or slightly over. Very rarely are we under that number, but we're pretty good at nailing the numbers on a project now. We know what our systems are. Our subs know what our systems are. Most of our subs are giving us a fixed fee bid. So we do have some control, but we want the ability to stay and get the job done and do it correctly. So it is a little more motivating to do it on cost plus and feel like you can put in that last 10%. If you're fixed fee, the first thing that happens is, hey, if we don't get out of here today, we're not going to make any money. We start losing money at the end of the day today, so we got to get all this done today. And the first time you tell somebody to hurry up and finish up, and we got to be done today, and we just got to knock that out, we got to get this done, that's a real challenging thing for, are we trying to make money, or are we trying to do a good job? Because I'm trying to do both. I'm trying to support my family, make a good living, make enough money that we can afford to stay in business, and I'm trying to do the best job possible. Now, they're not exclusive of each other. There's no reason why fixed fee can't work. There's no reason why cost plus can't work. But cost plus for me is the method that I like the best, and I think it's one that would benefit a lot of people. First, because it makes your bid a little more cost effective, but second, it gives you the ability to feel as if you can stay and get the job done, and third, it's completely open and honest. So I've never had a client challenge me on one of our invoices. I have had clients say, man, that seems like a lot of man hours, or whoa, that's more expensive than we thought it was going to be. But I've never had anybody say, hey, I know we signed a contract saying that we would pay you cost plus. Is there a way that we can pay you less? There's that. All those discussions take place before we sign a contract. They know what they're getting into. Now, the final aspect for cost plus in billing, we have to be 100% open and honest. So we use Builder Trends software for our budget tracking, but we also use it for our time clock. And the reason we use it for our time clock is because we can geolocate when we clock in and when we clock out. Now, it doesn't apply all the time, because sometimes somebody will clock in at the shop to do something for a job and it looks like they weren't on the job, or they'll clock in at the office because they're working on paperwork. But just because we have that built-in markup on every item, that doesn't mean that it applies to everything. It also still has what we think of as like the morality of business associated with it. If we install a door wrong and it has to come back out, that's obviously not the client's cost. I just had a small project that I finished that was 1,200 square foot house. I missed the framing by a couple $1,000s from both a labor and material standpoint, and it was literally just a mistake on my part. And so I deleted that out of their invoice. I credited that back to them, and I took care of it because that was the right thing to do. So I think of that as a like morality standpoint in business. The one thing that has been very helpful for me to talk to clients about this system, about the cost plus system, that I would leave you with is, I have said over and over again, this is the same way that your mechanic or your physician bills. We don't know everything at the onset, so let me give you what I think is gonna happen, and then we'll go from there. So it's not right for everybody. It might not be right for everybody. It's right for us. We enjoy it. We think it works. Before I go into the job to check on another job, I wanted to say, don't forget that every week, Matt Reisinger, Wade Paquin, Brent Hull, and Steve Basic are all making videos for the buildshownetwork.com. They are sharing some of the most informative stuff I've seen about building online. And it's an easily digestible video format that I think is a great format. That's why I choose to be involved as well. I'm thankful that Matt asked me to be involved. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram. It's jake.bruton on Instagram. And don't forget to follow the Unbuild It podcast, a podcast that Steve Basic and myself co-host with Peter Yost about building and building science. So until next time, think about how you're billing your clients, think about how you're bidding your projects, and look into Cost Plus. It might be right for you. Thanks for watching The Build Show.